What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam from Podcasting Business School. This is the show that I teach podcasters how to love their show like a hobby and build it like a business. I've got two Pod Pals with me. It's a 2-for-1 special with this podcast audit. We've got Cynthia. We've got Michelle from the It's All Connected podcast. I'm very excited about this. I met these ladies at a Pod Pal Zoom party. Now they're coming on to do this, and I've got some ideas cooked up. So I hope that you two are ready for this. Sound good?
Sounds
Fabulous.
great.
All right. So let's say we're having this conversation 6 months from now, and everything has gone splendidly with your show. I would love to know what that vision looks like for the both of you. So Michelle, why don't you kick it off, and then Cynthia, you can add your input from there.
Well, I'm not quite sure what to expect in 6 months, but I'd love to see a doubling, tripling, quadrupling of listeners and downloads. We need a much broader audience. We're really just getting going. And it would be great to hear from clients that this was media they encountered along their journey. Cynthia?
Pretty similar. Mine, when you asked that question, I was thinking about the vision of our podcast. So right now, what we've been doing is we've been interviewing a lot of people. What I'd like to see, it would be Michelle and I working our expertise and helping people out together separately, finding a really unique combination so that there will be a platform for a lot of people to get help.
Yeah.
And then having it spread, or I won't say organically, but having it spread very quickly that way.
Nice. Well, I love that vision. I feel like it's very achievable, both in the downloads and in the aspect of converting our best listeners into being our best clients. Like, I think both those things are very doable. I see it happening. And it's interesting you brought that up, Cynthia, because I feel like I've got a few different clients where I've worked with two podcasters at once, and they're both in the coaching space, but they offer different flavors within their own coaching. And that is something sometimes people are like, oh, we're going to be fighting over clients and blah, blah. And that's not really the way that it is, because people resonate with a certain direction one way or the other, and you have different things that you do, which is an advantage, not a disadvantage. But you are very right. We need to be clear about what it is that you do and show off that expertise as much as possible, just to avoid confusion, where some people may be like, what is it? And who does what? And this and that. So I think it would be very wise to have very specific content and segments of your content that are geared towards you individually showing off what you do. So almost kind of like take what we're doing here as a template and going, okay, well, we met, you got into my ecosystem, and you came to Pod Pals, and now you're doing this, and now we're connected. We've created content together. What would that look like for your brand? And is that a 2-on-1? Is that a 1-on-1 with each of you individually? Like, you could do something like this. Like, I do these episodes every Friday. Maybe for your brand, you do both of you with one listener as like a combo coaching session. And the first part is Michelle talking her expertise and her tips with that. And the second part is Cynthia talking her expertise and her tips around that. Or you could have people fill out applications, and you're like, hey, where do you need the most help at, A or B? And then depending on A or B, then that one or the other person takes it, and you rotate every week. So that would be half the amount of work that each of you would have to do. And you would get to kind of shine in your own little space as well. And that, I mean, when you talk about, I really don't like to label somebody as a lead, but that's kind of the correct term in this circumstance, where you go, is this relationship the best lead for Michelle or for Cynthia here? So let's let you be that main contact point. And that's really what they want to focus on. And you could best serve them. So is that making sense so far?
A lot of sense.
Okay.
Makes perfect sense to me. Cynthia and I just broadcast a session today called Sessions versus Readings in order to start highlighting the differences between our two businesses, which I think we both feel are highly complementary, but not the same. So hearing you on that.
Yes. So I love the word complementary. I love the word synergistic. I think you need to really just emphasize that. It's almost like depending on where you need to start there. But there's a really good chance you're probably also going to need the other side of the equation, and it works together, and it creates momentum. And of course, there are different offers that you could put together to where you are working together, and it's like our forces combined, and then boom, and it's this super awesome thing. But like, I really envision when you're dealing with two people that have two separate businesses in two different lanes. Like, I love the idea of having some sort of combo, like a paid challenge, a course, something where you're both involved. And then what happens next question is answered by your individual services. And that's where like your coaching retainer, or like if you have individual membership things, or a month-to-month coaching offer that's very specific in your zone. I like that a lot as just an option. But it kind of depends on how your value ladder looks and where you want that signature offer and what the best step is for your people. And only you truly know that. But that just, this is kind of an idea factory at the old podcast audit. So all will be put out there. And don't worry, I'm making notes as I go as well. And I'll kick those your direction. But I think, yes, we need to highlight you individually. But let's say that you are going to put a combo offer out there. And let's say you get together and you're like, all right, we're going to put out a paid challenge or a course that we built out with some hybrid, combo coaching. It's gonna be about both of us together. And we're going to, open enrollment in April or something like that. Well, that first quarter, January, February, March, I would probably do more combo style sessions to kind of show that off. Like, look at what we can do together. And then like people are getting mind-blowing results on an audit session like this. And the natural call to action is if you think that this was great, then you're going to love our upcoming challenge where we're both working together, and you can see how so you kind of gear it towards that. And then if you're kind of out of season for that type of an offer, I would maybe just do individual sessions a little bit to kind of show off your individual expertise. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. And it is possible to do both, right? So that right. So we could flip flop between the two, and
this is your show.
Have seasonal combos.
Yeah, I mean, experiment. And to me, it's really about the offer and like what that one big important call to action is of that next thing that you're going to do. And this is one of the areas I've really made improvements in this year. Like, I've been that classic guy that's like, here are all the things that I can do, and let's just talk about them all at once. And I've really gotten better. I've had to, and it's really dramatically improved my conversion rate and my income that I've been able to bring in by just going, here's the thing I'm talking about right now. And guess what? For the next at least month, but probably like 6 or 8 weeks, all my content is going to be attracting the right person that's going to be a great fit for this thing that I'm going to be talking about as an offer down the road. So, but yeah, so we want to really perk up the ears of the exact right person through the content that you're putting out and the expert positioning. Make sense?
Totally. Makes
Yep.
a lot of sense.
And I think honestly, you're going to create super fans of your brand by doing this. That's going to naturally elevate downloads. You create relationships, you create super fans. Those people tell other people about your show. They're like, oh my God, I did this thing with Cynthia and Michelle. It was so high impact. And maybe even you encourage it a little bit, where maybe you do an on-screen selfie or a screenshot, and then you just like send them a thing like, hey, would you be willing to and give them maybe a little template of what to say, even like, hey, would you be willing to share this on Facebook? And just be like, I was just on this show and I did this session. It was so amazing. And share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, and make a nice little thing that and it's not about necessarily promoting their episode on your show, but it's just like promoting your brand in general. Does that make sense? And that way it's a nice little shareable thing. And then of course you could do like, when this episode comes out, I'll have a little highlight thing and I'll be tagging you on Instagram and all that stuff. And sharing is always, appreciated, not expected, but appreciated. But like, I think when you're but we're podcasters, like we understand the game. Like we all know like marketing and podcasting. Okay. I can do my pod pal Adam a solid by, sharing his thing when our video comes out. But the average person, I feel like you have to simplify it a little bit and be like, okay, here's a little image. If you could share this out, it's a great way to pay us back and just say, hey, I really had a great time with this, and it spreads the word, and they'll be willing to do it for sure. So that'll be one strategy. We got to talk about the name of the show, because SEO, is an issue here. And there's different ways to approach this. And I know that you're just getting started, which is also, it's great. Like that's a great thing. So let me give you my little SEO speech that I give 90% of people that come on for a podcast audit. I would have given myself this speech 3 different times for all the 3 different shows because I didn't get it right the first time either. So it's all connected. The issues I have with that, and it's just, you guys know me now, and I'm a straight shooter, and I'm just going to be like, all right, this is something that I would fix. There's no SEO, and I don't know what it's about. Even though I don't know what's connected, I don't know who is connected. So if I was you, and if you're like Adam, just tell us what to do, we'll do it. And the reason behind this is this could be the one thing that holds all of your ideal clients from finding you, as from a podcast perspective. We all get too artsy and creative with the name of our show. And we need to be very vanilla and direct with the name of our show and get artsy and creative with the actual content that we're putting out. Like let all the creativity out with that, all the passion, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
But if there's no SEO and our keywords aren't helping us and people do find it and they don't know what it is, we're making it hard for the right person to binge listen and fall in love. Yeah. So you really want to think about the categories that you're listed in, your offers, your ideal clients. And it's a little different than website search engine optimization and even Google, because the key question we have to ask ourselves is, what in the heck, if somebody's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, what are they searching for? And what are our ideal listeners? That would be our ideal clients. What are they searching for that we deliver on with our show? What is the question? What are the keywords? So for me, for my show, it's podcasting tips. So I make sure, like if you search podcasting tips on Apple or Spotify, I got a shot. I will pop up. I'll be one of those 20 images that pops up. And then when my image pops up, it's big and bold, podcasting business school, easy to read. My big bald head isn't on there taking up space. It's just like, it's very obvious what it is. Like people know what this is. And so that's something that we want to look for in the name of your show. And if you're like,
Right.
we're not going to change it, that's a non-starter, then
no, we needed something to get started, and this felt like the perfect thing to get started. And I'm sure like 90% of podcasters out there was zero thought about how like this felt good to us.
Yeah.
It felt great to us, but you're right. It has zero search in it. And we anticipated this would be on your list of
I mean, it's
top things to improve, and we got to get more search. And I totally hear you on that. We've started kind of brainstorming. What's
let's
the
talk
new
about
name
that.
going to look like? And
let's dive into that. That's an effective conversation that we can have here today. So what are some keywords that you think that your ideal listener / ideal clients would be looking for in a podcast player? So they're going like, I need a new podcast about blah, blah, blah to listen to. What do you think people may be entering in there?
Cynthia?
I would say it's healing without the woo, so, there's that. There are two different ways of healing. Michelle comes at it a little bit more from the mind, and mine comes more from the emotions.
Okay. So keywords that are just popping into my head are in podcast categories, like and all this, like, so personal growth, mindset, personal development, like those, we need to search within those areas and go, okay, what's the right mix of keyword plus identifier? So from the identifier standpoint, like how can we niche down? It's like,
tell me what's an identifier?
Yeah. So an age range, male, female, entrepreneur, mompreneur. Okay. So like, instead of having a show called Michelle's Awesome Podcast, it could be, if you want to target mom entrepreneurs that are over 40, it could be the 40 plus mompreneur business podcast. Like that's the identifier. So do you feel like there's any are most of your clients and listeners male, female, or is there an age group, 40 plus, baby boomer, millennial, like any of that ringing true with who you're trying to reach here?
I would say most of my people are Gen X. What do you think, Michelle, for you? Some
Yeah, I
baby
was
boomers.
thinking about this the other day, and I'd say that it's not that narrow, but where I'm going right now is kind of 30 to 60.
Okay.
So yeah, that'd be Gen X.
Yeah.
A little
So,
Gen X and a little younger, I guess.
yeah.
And most of my clients are people who are wanting to expand beyond their business or expand beyond whatever. So they're breaking in a container.
Okay.
I think is a good way of saying it.
Okay. So so now what we need to do is take some of these keywords and some of these identifiers and you just put them in an idea bank and start arranging them in different orders and different, this goes first and then switch them and see how that kind of rolls off the tongue. And eventually we want to come up with a 2 to 4 word name of this show. And we got to make them all count,
Right.
But that's like the key thing. So that's the recipe for creating the name, and it'll just take a while and just kind of compare ideas, and something's going to hit you. We're like I want it to be obvious what the show is about. Like they read that title and it's like frying pan, boing, right on top of the head. I know what this is about. And I know if it's for me or I know if it's not for me, which is just as good. So that's what we're gunning for. Making sense so far?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So yeah, just take a little time on that. And then once you kind of get something locked in, and we are going to rebrand, the nice thing is you're just getting started. You don't have millions and millions of people. Like this is a great time to do this. But still, I would want you to kind of view it almost as a relaunch. And there's a little bit of a strategy here. You don't want to just pull the ripcord and all of a sudden everything changes for the people that are listening. Like we want to take care of those early subscribers. So I've got kind of a 3-week process where the first step would be a casual mention on an episode, be like, hey, and just so you guys know, we're working on a little bit of a rebrand / relaunch, and it's gonna be very exciting. Next week, we're gonna talk more about that. It could be that simple. That's step 1. Then the next week, still under the old brand, is a full episode of why the rebrand, what the goal is. It's almost like your first episode over again. It's like kind of a relaunch. And then the next episode is the first episode of the new brand. You've changed the name, you've changed the show art, which is very simple. You just go into your podcast host, make the update, and it'll be good, usually within like 15 minutes. Like Apple Podcasts, it's almost instantaneous. Now, I will do that. I get very specific. Like people, this is one of the things that people pay me for, is like this big rebranding breakdown. I'll go, okay, between step 2 and step 3, I want 3 days. So, I want 3 days before you go in and switch the image, because people are like, when do I change the image? Is it right when the episode goes live? I'm like, no. So the rebranding breakdown episode happens. Give it 3 days. That way they've got 72 hours. Most of the people that listen to your show will listen to it within 72 hours. Then go in, change the name, change the show art. That way it's good to go. And all the rebranding has happened by the next episode going out. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. And I've done this 3 times. Actually, I've done it 4 times. One show I rebranded twice. And that's like the least amount of confusion for the audience. And that way you give them a couple opportunities. Oh yeah, this is happening. And, say a little bit on social media or whatever. And then maybe you do a little kickoff and go, okay, we're relaunching. And we're going to do a little giveaway for ratings and reviews or something like that. But you don't have to do that. But some people like to kind of make a thing of it. And really in the descriptive episode where you talk about the rebranding, like really describe the benefits of the audience. Like we want to dial into the people we can serve the best. And here is who it is. Right. And that's why we wanted to attract those people, you people, with this different name. Make sense?
Completely.
Okay. So I think this will help tremendously. Then I want you to look at like really working on the SEO with your episode titles as well. So if you're doing some coaching style episodes like this individually or together, think about the main topic that you are diving into and kind of think, how could I form that into a question that people would put on Google? Okay. So maybe you dive into somebody that's got dealing with like early childhood trauma, and you do your thing and you help them have a breakthrough with that. So then like early childhood trauma is something that people will search on Google, like how do I overcome XYZ? So make that the episode title, because that actually will pull up in Google, and that will help with our search engine optimization for people finding you outside of podcast player apps. So the title, all those keywords really help for somebody in Apple or Spotify. The episodes are good for searchability outside of that in Google or wherever people are searching on the intranet. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense.
And that's going to help. Like a lot of people think they got to do all this voodoo to get their listenership up, and it's just like a lot of basic SEO stuff, and then putting out content with those important words. And last thing, anytime you get to talk to anybody that listens to your show, really try to find out, like, how did you find me? Where did you find me? What did you search for? And I've asked probably thousands of people. I grill everybody that I talk to. I'm like, how'd you find me? Where'd you find me? What'd you search for? Podcasting tips. So I'm like, I got to show up for this. So you'll notice a lot of my content has those two words, podcasting and tips, at the front end, at the back end. 7 podcasting tips for how to grow your show, or how to make money. 5 special podcasting tips. Like I just put podcasting tips wherever I can, as often as I can, because that's just going to keep showing up. And that's why I had somebody that did a podcast audit, and we ended the session. She's like, I put podcasting tips into Google, and it was like 1 million of your episodes. I'm like, good. She's like, it was just everywhere. I'll add them all the time. I'm like, good. That's what I want. So don't, like, some people are hesitant to do that, but I'm like, my people, that's what they come for, is the podcasting tips. So who cares if I use that word all the time? We can't get into this. It's kind of like people that get real artsy with their Instagram profile. Like, oh, there are 2 of the same color images in the feed at the same time. I'm like, nobody's scrolling through your feed going, oh my God, 2 yellow images. What are they thinking? But we get in our head about stuff like that. Same thing with the episode titles. Like if somebody gets pissed that I'm using the word podcasting tips, let them unsubscribe. Like, okay, you ain't here for the right thing. So hone in on those words, kind of rotate around, and you'll get a good feel. Once your audience really starts to kind of get traction, you'll have plenty of people to kind of pick their brain and go, okay, what are you really looking for here? And you'll get good feedback from them. Make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Really good stuff.
Outstanding. Okay. This has been a major brain dump session. So I will send you my notes to make sure that we kind of, I'm kind of a rare breed, because I get ultra creative and I've got kind of this idea factory going on, but I really enjoy putting all those things into boxes, and that are like, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. So I'll send you all my notes after I kind of get back to, I'll take a minute to reorganize them, and I'll send them your direction. But I really think this is going to make a big, big difference. The individual expert positioning style episodes, that's going to help your business. The name change and the SEO is going to bring the right people in. And that's what I'm here to do. Like that's what I'm all about.
That's a big part of the battle. Yeah.
Connecting the dots of here's how we make money. Here's the journey. Here's how we position ourselves, and connect those dots. And then let's get the right people listening to your show as effectively and easily as possible, so that they go through that process and go, wow, experts. And you're top of mind. And then if they're ready to do the darn thing, you're the person that they hire. Make sense?
Yeah,
it does.
All right, cool. All right. So I want to make sure that we shout out your brand, your website, where people can individually connect with you on like Instagram or wherever you hang out on social. So Cynthia, why don't you go first? And then Michelle, you can close this out here.
Sure. I'm Cynthia Varkevisser, and I'm an intuitive edge coach and a proud podcaster called It's All Connected. And you can find me on Facebook at cynthiavarkevisser.com or on Instagram at It's Intuition.
Outstanding. How about you, Michelle?
I'm Michelle Walters, co-host of It's All Connected. On Instagram, I'm known as Mind Power Junkie. And on Facebook, I'm one of many Michelle Walters. So maybe start with Insta.
Good luck with that. All right. Well, I appreciate you both joining me here today. And for all you out there listening in, if you want to be just like my pod pals, Cynthia and Michelle, get signed up for a podcast audit. We're recording this in October of 2022. I'm already booking well into 2023 for these sessions. So get on the calendar. The wait is worth it, I think, and we can create some cool content together. So I appreciate you two awesome pod pals, and I appreciate everybody for listening in. With that, I will send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We will see you next time.
Thank you.